Hi, welcome to the Mind at Home. My name is Mind Mover Fisher, and I'm one of the resident scientists here at the Mind Museum in Bonifacio Global City, Taguig. So as many of you know, many of us have our classes suspended today, and we here at the Mind Museum are closed today and tomorrow. That's of course in line with the government's efforts to stop the spread of the virus that causes COVID-19. So if your classes are suspended today, it's best and most wise if you just stay at home. Don't go anywhere else far from home, because of course we don't want to be the cause of the spread of COVID-19. Meanwhile, we here at the Mind Museum are closed again today and tomorrow because we're cleaning our facilities, because of course we want to be safe as well. And in fact, we're going to be open this Saturday, and as a precaution to the guests here at the Mind Museum, all guests who come here on Saturday will be asked to temperature check. So magpapacheck kayo if your temperature is below 38 degrees. For those whose temperature is above 38 degrees, we here at the Mind Museum will have to ask you to show a clearance, a health clearance, that you're not sick, or that you're feeling well, or you're feeling well enough to travel. We're also going to provide hand sanitizers in many parts of the museum, and we're going to provide liquid soap in our restrooms. And of course, there is where you can wash your hands. And a reminder that you should wash your hands all the time, not just now that a virus is spreading, but all the time. It's always a good idea to wash your hands, and wash your hands properly for at least 20 seconds. That's 2 happy birthdays. And wash all parts of your hands. That's very important. Like all parts of your hands. So we'll upload a video on the proper technique for hand washing soon. So please keep on following us here on Facebook and on our other social media channels here at the Mind Museum, because of course we'll upload more. Speaking of uploading more, this is just one of the episodes or installments in Mind at Home. We had one earlier, and we'll have another one later, and we hope to have more in the future, because of course we here at the Mind Museum don't want learning to stop. Just because you're staying at home, we want you to keep on learning, and we want to explain some of the topics that are in line with the K-12 curriculum. For this episode, for this installment, we are gonna cover one topic discussed in grade 5, but also in grade 9, but mostly in grade 5 of the K-12 curriculum, and that will be the topic on constellations. So one important thing to remember when you're studying the stars, which is my favorite topic, astronomy, that's what I specialize here at the Mind Museum, is that not all stars are the same. So for the viewers at home, what is the closest star to us? Second question, what is the brightest star in the sky? So actually the answer to both those questions is the same. It's the sun, right? So the sun is a star. It just happens to be the closest to us here on Earth. And there are many stars. So let's take a look at some pictures here showing a comparison of how big the sun is compared to other stars. So here is a star called Betelgeuse. It's in part of a constellation that's quite famous, which I will show you later. And here are some other stars. Look at how big they are compared to some of these other stars, and the sun is just a dot. I think it's hard and tough for some of the audience there to see just how big the sun is, which I think just shows that the sun is really small compared to these other stars. So the sun is so many times bigger than the Earth, but the sun, in turn, is many times smaller than other stars. So some stars are really big, especially the reddish stars. That's why those stars are called red giants. Right? And there are other stars that are bigger than the sun, but are not reddish in color. They're bluish-white. That's why we call them the bluish-white giant. So, like for example, the star Rigel. So we have another star here that's the sun, and in between there's the star Sirius, and then there's Rigel. Right? For those who are curious, what's the color of the sun? In these pictures, we show the sun to be a bit yellowish, right? And the sun produces a lot of yellow light. That's true. And if we can show here pictures of other stars, this time these stars are smaller than the sun. So you can see the sun there very big, right? And it's shown there as a yellowish thing. It's so big you cannot show the whole sun, and you can only show a bit of the earth. and a white dwarf star, which is whitish in color and a little bit bigger than the Earth. And then you have a neutron star. It's a kind of star that's smaller than the Earth. So it's pretty cool, right? So some stars are really small, they're smaller than the Earth. Mas maliit pa kaysa sa daigdig, while other stars are bigger than the sun. Mas malaki pa kaysa sa araw. Now, going back to that thing I mentioned, iba-iba yung kulay ng mga between, di ba? Stars have different colors. Some are red, some are white, some are bluish-white. And the sun, yung araw, parati siyang pinapakita as yellow, dilaw. No? Minsan, it's usually shown as yellow. And that's true, the sun produces a lot of yellow light. But actually, the sun also produces a lot of other colors. No? Nag-release din siya ng green, ng orange, ng yellow, ng blue. And that's why, pag pinicturean mo yung sun, and again, just a reminder, never look directly at the sun. No? Huwag tumingin ng diretso sa araw. Okay? Never look directly at the sun. I'm gonna say that one more time. Huwag tumingin ng diretso sa araw. Right? But if you can take a picture of the sun, pag pinicturean mo yung araw, makita mo puti yung kulay niya. And why? For those who are at home. What do you get when you combine the colors of the rainbow? Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. O yung tinatawag natin na Roy G. Biv. What do you get if you mix all of them? That's right, you get white light. No? So puti. Kaya, pag pinicturean mo yung sun, nagiging puti yung kulay. Na? Pero we just usually represent it as yellow because it produces a lot of yellow light. Na? So again, yung reminder lang dyan, stars have different sizes and colors. No, yun yung isang mahalagang maalala dyan. Next, meron tayong tinatawag na constellations. We have what we call constellations in the sky. So this is a really useful website that's easy to go to. Here's the URL. Ito yung pipindutin nyo. in-the-sky.org /skymap2.php. At pag pumunta kayo doon, mapapakita sa inyo yung constellations na andyan ngayon. Pero siyempre, andyan yung sun ngayon. Andyan yung araw. The sun is up. Right? That's why we cannot see these constellations. No? So we're gonna have to change the time. So this website is wonderful because you can adjust the time. So until yung date, March 12, the year is 2020. The time is around 4:26. Tapos ito yung ating location, Taguig. No, pwede niyo yung bagu-baguhin, depende kung saan kayo. Na, so, dito sa my museum, nasa Taguig kami, kaya yun yung nilagay ko. Taguig. No? So, pwede kong baguhin yung oras. Yan. Ay, magandang oras. Pwede natin gawin, military time to, no? Pwede natin gawin, yan, 7 p.m. So, pag 7 p.m. nakita nyo, bumaba na yung araw, the sun has set, right? And now we can see, these are the constellations that are up tonight. Ito yung mga constellations nakita natin ngayong gabi. And, if we keep it at the same time, gawin natin parehong oras, right? 7:26 p.m. pa rin. No, yun yung military time na pagsulat ng 7:26 p.m. Para sa mga kids dyan na hindi pa familiar with military time. So, 1926 or 7:26 p.m. Baguhin natin yung date, no? So, March 12. Baguhin natin, gawin natin, kunwari, April. Yan, pag April na, yan, tapos na yung pasukan, nagbago na yung constellations ng konti. Umusog ng konti. Right? Tapos, baguhin natin ulit yung buwan. Gawin natin May. Yan, umusog din yung constellations, nagbago na. Tapos, pag gawin natin December. Yan, favorite time of the year ko yan eh, December. Yan, gawin natin December. Ayan, iba din yung constellations. Kita natin si Mars, si planet Mars, no? Sa mga planets nakita natin sa December. So, iba-iba yung mga constellations at different times of the year. Tapos, balik tayo sa date ngayon, sa petsa ngayon, March 12. So, kita natin na ito yung mga constellations nakita natin mamayang gabi ng 7:26 p.m. Pero pag binago natin yung oras, mag-iiba din yung constellations. So, baguhin natin yung oras. Gawin natin, sige, kunwari, gawin natin 10 p.m. So, sa military time yung 10 p.m. ay 22. So, 10:26 p.m. Yan. So, nag-iba din yung mga constellations. So, it's a very useful website, no? Para makita nyo kung ano yung constellations na makita nyo sa iba't ibang parts ng world, right? At different times of the night and at different dates of the year. So, bakit ganun kaya? Bakit iba-iba yung constellations na makikita natin? Sige, bigyan ko kayo ng mga few seconds para pag-isipan. Bakit kaya? Right? So, it has something to do sa paggalaw ng Earth, no? So, meron tayong Earth dito. Pero parang masyadong maliit. Ito na lang. Mas malaking Earth ako dito, di ba? Malaki. Ayan. So, ito yung Earth natin, no? Bilog yung Earth, ha? Huwag kayong makinig sa mga nagsasabing iba yung hugis ng Earth. Bilog talaga yung Earth na. Tapos yung Earth, umiikot yan, di ba? Umiikot ng paganyan. Ay, paganyan pa rin ikot ng Earth. Paganyan. No? Ayan. So, dahil umiikot yung Earth, yung makita nating mga constellations, paiba-iba. So minsan, ayan, ito kunyari yung araw natin, yung ilaw na yan, yun yung araw. Pag dito nakaharap, syempre di natin kita yung stars. Kasi, andyan yung araw, no? It outshines all the stars. But as your Earth rotates, yun yung pangalan sa pag-ikot ng Earth, that's the term for the Earth spinning. It's called the rotation of the Earth. So as the Earth rotates, you will see different constellations at different times of the night. So the constellation you see at 7 p.m. is different from the constellation you see at 10 p.m. And it's going to be different from the constellation you see close to midnight, which again will be different from the constellation you will see at 3 in the morning. And that's because the Earth is spinning, right? That's why you see different constellations at different times of the night. But this is a very big Earth. Let's go with a smaller Earth this time. But the Earth has another movement. I'd like you to think of another way that the Earth moves. So, diba, the Earth is spinning. It's spinning like that. That's called rotation. What is another way in which the Earth spins? Okay, that's right. No? The Earth goes around the sun. It's called revolution. No? Umiikot yung araw natin umiikot yung araw. Hindi. Umiikot yung ating Earth, yung daigdig sa araw. No? The Earth goes around the sun. So, for example, the sun is my palm, and this is the Earth. The Earth goes around the sun. Now, although sometimes here in the Philippines we feel na ganyan tayo kalapit sa sun because it gets very hot. But of course the Earth goes around the sun, and that's the reason, part of the reason why we have the seasons, right, here on Earth. But also that's the reason why iba-iba yung constellations that we see at different times of the night. And so we can go to this website, but fortunately there are other tools you can use. So you can make your own star wheel. So I have here some printed star wheels. Yan, tawag din sa star wheel na to, planisphere. Right? So we left a link to where you can download these sa description ng video. Right? So links in the description. So if you want to download these, for example, if you're a teacher na ganito yung lesson niyo sa school, and syempre kailangan maghabol ngayon, you can download these, print them. Right? Tapos may instruction din kung paano gawin. There's more than 2 pages, yung ibang pages about instruction. So ito, ang kupto para sa Metro Manila, right? So dito sa NCR. So all you need to do, once you printed, cut na lang. So meron ako ditong gunting. Ayan. So, cut tayo. Ganyan. So, bubutasan nyo. Parang ganito yung magiging itsura niya. Oh. Yan. Yung isa, pabilog. Tapos yung isa, parang ganito, na may butas. Yan. So magandang pang project sa mga estudyante. Or kung gusto niya lang sa bahay, di ba? Class suspension, mga college students dyan, yan, okay, yung labas, gawa na lang kayo nito, no? Fun pa, yan. Tapos, ayan. So, parang i-fold niyo siya na parang burrito. Tapos, para lang madali yung pag-ikot, fold ko dito sa likod. Parang naging arts kind of video na to, na. Yan, art attack na siya, parang gano'n. Yan, so dito, yan. Right. So, tawag sa kanya star wheel kasi iikutin mo siya yan, no? Ang gulong, right? It's called a star wheel because there's like a wheel that you turn, right? And if you look at the star wheel closely, you will see that there are dates, may mga petsa, and there are times, right? Yan. Yan yung product ko. Science product. Mga friends, yan, okay? Yan, alright. So, this is what we call a star wheel. Para sa kuti star. Yan, so star wheel. Right? So you can see the dates up there, and then you can see the times, right? And it's very simple. Sobrang dali niyang gamitin. You just align the date, yung petsa, and the time, yung oras. So for example, I want to know what constellations are up tonight. Anong petsa nga yun? March, andyan yun, March 12. Right, tama. March 12, Thursday. Tapos, i-align ko lang siya sa, for example, I want to do it at 10 p.m. So I just align March 12, ayan, and 10 p.m. And yung makita ko na dyan ng constellations, yun na yung mga constellations that are up tonight. So it's a very useful tool. And it's a nice workshop activity din for the kids, for the students, for everyone who's interested. Tapos syempre, many of us today have smartphones, and there are high-tech versions of this that you can download for your smartphone, whether it's an iPhone or an Android phone or any kind of smartphone. Most of these smartphones can have an app. For example, meron tayong Skyview Lite, which is a free app. Right? So let's show here. Ayan, di ba? High-tech. Okay, pinapakita natin. Ayan. So, yan, isang example. So, you go to the Apple Store or Google Play, download it for free, tapos pwede niyo siyang gamitin. No? Para malaman niyo yung constellations that are up tonight. No? So, ano ba tong constellation? Kanina ko pa to ginagamit ang word na constellation. No? Pero hindi ko pa siya na-define. Anong ibig sabihin ng constellation? So, tignan natin na pag tumingin tayo dito, may mga patterns, di ba? May mga hugis sila. Alright? So, yun yung pinanggalingan ng constellation. So, ito isa sa medyo sikat na hugis. Yan. So, familiar ba sa inyo yan? Lalo na ito. Is this familiar to you? For example, these 3 stars. Have you seen them before? So, I guess many of you have seen them before, right? And you might know them as the Tres Marias, no? Or the 3 Marys. The 3 kings, or you might call it Orion's belt. Siya yung belt ng hunter na si Orion. No? So, ito yung mga stars na tinatawag natin, nagpo-form ng constellation Orion. So, yan, parang may pattern, no? So, syempre, different cultures see different patterns there. For example, tingin tayo ng isang pattern. So, isang pattern dyan, na nakita ng mga ancient Filipinos, sabi na, ay, parang hunting trap natin. Kasi yung hunting trap natin may 3 sticks, no? May 3 sticks to the ground. So, kita nila yung 3 stars dito sa Orion's belt. Sabi na, parang hunting trap natin. Yun yung tinatawag nilang balatik. At ito yung naging basis, ito yung naging title din ng isang book about the star patterns here in the Philippines. No? It's written by the social scientist Dante L. Ambrosio. Right? So, if you want to learn more kung anong tawag ng mga Filipinos, especially before the Spaniards arrived, what Filipinos called the patterns in the stars. Look this book up. No, tignan niyo, hanapin niyo yung book na to. It's a thin book, a really great book, a great resource for studying what we call ethnoastronomy. No, yung link between culture saka astronomy, yung pag-aaral ng mga between. Right? So there's that book. But of course, the more famous one is the one made by the Greeks. So ito, sabi nila, that's the belt of a hunter. Yan, tawag nila Orion's belt. Kasi when they saw that shape, they thought that the 3 stars formed a belt of a hunter. And that's the shape of the hunter. Right? So, if you ask different people around the world, what shape is formed by these stars? Yan, by these stars. They will give you different answers. Iba-iba yung magiging sagot. No? So, yung mga scientists natin, they want to make it standard. Right? They want to have a standard set of shapes so that they can divide the whole sky into areas. And that's how they made up the constellation. So if you see green lines here, those are the boundaries. Yan, yung green lines na yan. Those are the boundaries of the constellation Orion. So everything inside the green lines, that's part of the constellation called Orion. Let's take a look at another famous one. This one. Alright, what shape do you see formed by the stars? Okay, let me count the stars. Not all the stars, just the ones you see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yan. How many stars do you see there? Ilang between yung nakita niyo dyan? Yan, diba? Anong shape nila? So, mukha siyang tabo, no? Speaking of tabo, pwede kayong gumamit ng tabo to wash your hands all the time, no? To avoid the spread of germs. So, mukha siyang tabo, kaya tawag natin dyan, the Big Dipper, right? Mukha siyang tabo. So, that is another shape in the sky. But actually, this shape in the sky is not its own constellation. It's just part of another constellation. So, the name of that constellation is this one, Ursa Major. Kasi it supposedly looks like a big bear. Yan. And the Big Dipper is just part of it. So, this is the Big Dipper. And this is the rest of Ursa Major. This is the tail of the bear. Tapos this is the head of the bear right there. Tapos these are the front legs and the back legs. It's not so easy to see the bear. It's easier to see the Big Dipper. No? Pero, the big bear, that forms the constellation. So yun yung constellation natin. So our constellations are a way for our scientists to divide the whole sky into different areas. Diba? So if we have a map of the world, we will see that there are different countries. Diba? Kasi the world is divided into different countries. Same with the sky. The scientists use the constellations to divide the sky into different areas. Those areas are what we call the constellations. Now, there's a total of 88 of them. So, hindi sila ganun kadami, right? There's not too many of them. In fact, there's more countries than there are constellations. Ayan. So, that's a constellation. Okay? And, of course, they are a way for scientists to divide the whole sky that surrounds the Earth. Okay. So, let's turn on the lights again. Alright. So, we have different constellations na makita natin. Again, so we have the Earth, and it's surrounded by the stars. One star is very near us. What's the star that's close to us again? Relatively close in terms of the whole universe. It's the sun. Diba? So we have the sun, and then we have the other stars, mas malayo, right? Light years away. And then, as the Earth spins, we see different constellations. So the constellations, that's a way for the scientists para may address lahat ng part ng sky. Para hindi sila magkakalituhan. Para when one scientist discovers something that way, sasabihin niya, I discovered something in the constellation. For example, an example of a constellation would be Orion. So, I discovered something in Orion, or for example, I discovered something in the Big Dipper. Is it a constellation? And that's right, no, it's not a constellation. It's just part of what constellation again? It's part of the constellation Ursa Major, or the Big Bear. So it's a way for scientists para magkaintindihan sila. They know what part of the sky they're talking about, right? So that's what the constellations are. And aside from these constellations, there's 88 of them. There are many other shapes that different cultures use. And these shapes have meaning for these cultures, right? And that's why star shapes, they're not just useful in science, and they're not just useful in navigation like Moana was doing in the movie, Moana, of the same title. They're also useful because they have meaning. They have cultural meaning to different people. So may iba't iba silang ibig sabihin sa kultura ng iba't ibang mga tao. No? Pati na dito sa Pilipinas. So knowing more about stars actually is not just a scientific activity, it's also a very cultural activity. Showing you na yun nga, wala masyadong boundary naman talaga between science and the rest of human thinking, no? Or human thought, including culture. Alright, so yun lang yung mga ilan sa mga pwede nyo matutunan about constellations. Ang dami yan, 88 sa kanila, iba-iba makita mo different times of the year. So, sana ay kung nasa bahay kayo, hindi kayo pumupuntang school, for example, or sa mga mag-work at home, because of, again, the idea that we want to minimize the spread of the virus causing COVID-19, what you can do maybe tonight, no? Mas may energy kayo kasi hindi kayo lumabas. Pwede mag-stargazing, right? At pwede nyo gamitin yung mga tools na binigay namin, share namin, yung Planisphere. So again, yung link para dito ay nasa descriptions. Download nyo, print ninyo, right? Okay? Yan, tapos gawa kayo ng ganito. Or pwede kayo mag-download ng mga apps sa inyong smartphone kagaya yung Skyview Lite. At pwede niyo puntahan yung simpleng website na pinakita ko. Just one of the many websites out there. Yung inthesky.org. Right? So gamit ang website na to, using this website, you can see what constellations are up there in the sky for different parts of the world, different times of the night, and different nights of the year. Okay? So, that's just again a quick introduction, and I hope na in this episode, in this segment of The Mind at Home, we've encouraged you to want to learn more, even while classes are suspended. So, we'll have another installment of The Mind at Home later at 5 in the afternoon. So, please stay tuned for that, right? Please stay tuned. The topic for that would be about the planets, no? So if you have questions about planets, you can stay tuned for that one. Again, 5 p.m. Alas 5 ng hapon, right? Speaking of 5, yeah, don't forget to wash your hands. Wash your hands all the time. Wash your hands, and if wala naman kayong emergency, don't leave the house, stay at home, and that's why we're doing this, so that you can learn while you stay at home. So please, if you have questions about this topic, leave a comment down there in the comment section. Ask your questions there, and then we have the links and resources dun din. Please like, share, and follow this, especially to the students who are at home. If you're a teacher, you can share this as well sa mga estudyante ninyo para they keep learning while they're staying at home. And please don't forget to follow us at the Mind Museum, right? Dito sa Facebook at saka sa iba ding social media channels like Instagram. No? So see you later, right? Stay tuned. Again, topic, planets. Bye.